Good day, everybody, and thank you so much for being here in Leon Point. And I have a very special guest today. And actually, she came out in my podcast, Biohacking and Beyond, about a year ago. And today we wanted to have this conversation around what she has, her gifts and everything, and also my knowledge through Germanische Heilkunde or Germanic healing knowledge, and kind of just have a little powwow about what is going on exactly. And let me introduce her. I have here Leanne Venier. She's a 5-time medical award-winning inventor of Rejuvenator Quantum Light Therapy. She's an engineer, an Eastern medicine physician, artist, and pioneering expert in the science of light therapy, code, and quantum healing. And she also has a 4+ year master's level education in Chinese acupuncture, Japanese acupuncture, Zen shiatsu, and Chinese herbology, plus 5 elements training and formal training in acutonics, which is sound healing, and a lot more that falls under the umbrella of Eastern medicine, and decades of experience practicing all of the above. Oh my gosh, she is the real deal. Hi, Leanne. Thank you so much for being here.
Ellie, thanks for having me. Always love chatting with you.
So Leanne and I were kind of private messaging each other and said, "Hey, I have so many success stories and everything. I have so many things to share." And I mentioned also, "Hey, Leanne, I also have a lot of success stories with GHK and everything." And there's something to be said about when we get into self healing, that there's so many facets around it. Like we could use the energy body, which is so potent. And then there's also the knowledge of the psychobiological root cause of disease, which is Germanic healing knowledge. And then combining it together, I mean, one and the other individually are pretty potent, but having them together would also be amazing, would kind of accelerate the healing. So Leanne, would you share with us some of your recent success stories that you wanted to talk about on the show today?
Well, oh God, there are thousands. I mean, people using the Rejuvenator and the Green Juvenator and Blue Juvenator now, but the Rejuvenator is the foundational healing formulation, the number 3 universal, and we have thousands of incredible healing reports for that. And it doesn't just treat, like light therapy will treat surface problems or sometimes deeper problems. It doesn't rely on the light being able to penetrate through the physical tissues, because the quantum healing energies direct the light into the meridian system and take it deep into the body, all the way through the physical body, but also treat and heal the energy body, which is everything that happens in the physical body is downstream from what's going on in the energy body, including the psycho-emotional aspect and the root level of healing. Well, it always starts in the psyche. So whether it's, stress related, but it's another thing. So some success stories, and like, again, thousands, but, completely healing of stage 4 cancers, brain glioblastoma, which is a very deadly type of brain cancer. Complete healing where the person was supposed to be dead in 3 weeks, completely healed and recovered and still alive years later. A lot of common things that people experience: thyroid dysfunction, where they're medicated on thyroid drugs for years, that complete healing of that. Obviously tons and tons of skin stuff, but and anti-aging, age reversal, and things like that. Let me think of broken bones, things that you can see tangibly are the ones that are kind of the most, I guess, be easy for people to understand. When you see like a broken bone in a 90-year-old that heals in 4 weeks, when normally in a 90-year-old, a broken bone, a completely broken in 2 pieces bone, humerus bone, wouldn't even heal in an elderly person, because they just don't have enough of that kidney life force energy, which governs the bones, to be able to heal any bone, let alone a major bone in the body that's broken in 2 pieces. And normally a bone is going to take 8 to 12 weeks, 12 weeks being the more common in a young, healthy person. And so this was a 4-week healing, and tons of reports of people completely healing, torn cartilage, torn tendons, torn ligaments, torn meniscus, complete healing. Those usually take 4 to 5 weeks. 4.5 weeks is kind of a magic number. Yeah, what are some other things that are pretty common? Like I said, you ask me, I'll tell you. I'll tell you how many case studies we have for those.
Yeah.
It's kind of like there's everything, anything and everything. And not from a medical diagnosis perspective, but pain, fibromyalgia, which just means pain everywhere and we don't know what's causing it. So, which is basically a blockage of energy.
I actually know I mean, we psychobiologically, Germanic healing knowledge, we would know fibromyalgia and anything to do with the new mesoderm, like the connective tissue. No, but it sounds like, like what you were saying about broken bones and, cartilage or something. Those are more due to injury. So it would be kind of mechanical, like somebody trips or something and then tears it, likely, which is amazing. But if we look at, let's say, bone fibromyalgia, for example, it's like muscles that are painful and bones that are aching and all. It would be a self-devaluation conflict. In Germanic healing knowledge, it would be, I am not good enough. My core personality is, I don't know who I am, or I am not being seen as who I want to be seen as. And therefore, my self-esteem is very low. And it's in sort of what you call a hanging healing. And we would call it chronic because it's trying to heal and the pain comes out in the resolution, because when all of the new mesoderm layer, like the bone, muscle tissue, when they start to heal, it kind of expands because of the, periosteum and everything. And that's where the pain comes. But the conflict happens again. The low self-esteem happens again every day. So it can happen every day for years, and therefore they call it chronic. So what do you say about that and the quantum light healing?
Well, from an Eastern medicine 5 elements perspective, and that's kind of what I teach people in my community, my global community. You focus on understanding the energy systems that govern the different tissues in the body. So, for example, muscles are governed by spleen, stomach energy. So if you have anything that has to do with muscles, whether it's muscles of the face, muscles of the veins that are supposed to be able to contract and expand freely, or constricted muscles that are causing something to get pulled out of alignment. The muscles correspond to spleen, stomach energy. And tell me the name again, because I know the German new medicine that you were using before. And what's it called now?
It's Germanische Heilkunde. It's the German authentic name. But the English is Germanic healing knowledge.
Oh, so you said GHK. GHK. Yeah, talking about self-esteem. So the way that would correlate to the 5 elements spleen, stomach energy system is spleen, stomach energy also has to do with nurturing and self-nurturing. And when you have a lack of self-nurturing and often externalizing the nurturing and wanting to help everybody else but not helping yourself, that's weak spleen, stomach energy. So that will manifest as problems in the muscles, wherever in the body. So that's what I was talking about, because it kind of came up the last time you and I spoke, where I was talking about things from a 5 elements perspective, and you were talking about it from a GHK perspective. And I'm like, oh, there's a lot of crossover and parallel here. We're kind of saying the same thing, but just coming from two different languages. When you have, so what you talked about, when you have an injury to a shoulder, for example, I'll focus on shoulder because it's a very common joint that gets injured. You can have something where it's like you lift up 10-pound weights every day, all day, and you move things, like let's say you move boxes or whatever, no problem. But then if your spleen, stomach energy is weak and the muscles aren't doing the job of holding the joint where it should be held in place, and then you're relying on tendons and ligaments that are not supposed to be doing that job. So you go to lift something up where in the past, the muscles would be like supporting and you're using your muscles to lift the thing. But if your muscles aren't working and the shoulder can get weak and misaligned and you go to lift something up, and then it's like relying on tendons and ligaments that aren't supposed to be doing that job, and that's when you get a tear. So the injury is directly connected to a weakness in the energy system. And when also combined often with liver gallbladder energy system, which governs the tendons and ligaments. So the tendons, ligaments, all the sinews in the body are governed by liver gallbladder energy, which is when you have toxic overload in your body, that energy gets stuck. It's not so much deficiency. It's like literally like kinks in your hose where you get stuck. So if the energy isn't flowing through because the gallbladder meridian comes here, starts here. This is where you often get one-sided headaches also. Goes around the ears, comes up here, back.
Right.
And then the point where people get headaches and, tension in the back of their neck comes down here, down the back of the arm in the Masanaga meridian system, which is more comprehensive than the Chinese meridian system, which is it's kind of missing half the and then it goes around the back, around the scapula, down the sides of the body. But anyway, so for the upper part of the body, people, when they get stressed, will often experience tension up here, manifesting in the shoulders, also everything being super tight. And that's where you often get susceptibility to shoulder injuries, because spleen, stomach, and liver gallbladder energy often go out of balance hand in hand. One will start and affect the other, or vice versa. So shoulder injuries are very, I mean, that's almost cookie cutter, like liver, gallbladder, spleen, stomach energy combined, a blockage in those systems and deficiency. And that, so when you use the Rejuvenator, so there are certain protocols that you treat locally where the tissues are actually torn, because it heals the tissues directly, but you also want to heal the root of why the injury happened in the first place. Because again, a lot of times people get an injury from doing, or even if they're at the gym and they keep they're working out and they're doing something they've done a million times, and then all of a sudden they injure themselves, because that before those energy systems were strong, or they weren't as weak at the point where they're more susceptible to an injury. So the injury, I mean, if you have an accident and you're in a car and you get, that kind of accident, well, that also has a psycho-emotional element, but that's a different kind of injury. But when you have an injury that is manifested because of a weakness in the body, or subluxation in the spine, meaning a misalignment in the spine, because every vertebra corresponds to a different energy meridian. So it's very easy to diagnose people from the 5 elements perspective. Usually I don't do like, give me one symptom and I'll tell you what is affected. There are certain things that are almost always, yeah, it's probably that, but tell me a few other things that you've got going on, like digestion, things like that. So
you
from the rare perspective,
you would put the red on the shoulder, or
yes. Yeah. Well, the green. So focusing with the number 3, then you would also do the detox protocol, which helps to move energy in the liver gallbladder energy system. So, and in the physical organs itself. So the detox protocol, which is treating up here, and you're covering those gallbladder meridian points that I talked about, but doing the detox protocol and the abdominal protocol are putting energy directly into the energy, spleen, stomach, and liver gallbladder energy systems that are at the root of why the injury happened in the first place.
wow, you amazing.
Instead of just treating where it hurts or where the injury is, you also treat the root. So like, for example, with a broken bone, you would treat where the broken bone is, but then you would also treat the kidneys, which is, the middle to low back, where the kidneys are around rib cage. Yeah. So, because then you put the energy directly into the energy system that governs the bones and accelerates the healing in the bone.
Amazing.
Correctly. Yeah. So
I had an insight about GHK, because if we look at shoulders, and maybe this is also one of the reasons it's pretty rampant and why there's so much weakness there. The shoulder in GHK is a self-devaluation, but it's a self-devaluation in a role in relationships. So it's
okay. The question you have to find that devaluation.
Yes, evaluation. Yeah. So it's a low self-esteem conflict, low self-esteem. I am less than, I'm not good enough. But specifically in my role in a relationship, the question, the idiom would be, am I a bad mother? Am I a bad husband? Am I a bad wife? Am I a bad boss? Am I a bad? I'm not good enough as a mother. I'm not good enough as a boss. And it's very common. Like, we have a lot of people who have frozen shoulders, because actually frozen because every day they have that thought seed that I'm not a good mother. And Leanne, this is actually brilliant, because we know from your handedness, like if you're right or left-handed, and depending on what shoulder it is, we know if you're talking about your mother or your child, or if you're talking about your spouse, father, and everyone else. So basically, if you're right-handed and it appears on the left side, the opposite side, it would be around your mother. Am I a bad daughter to my mother, or am I a bad mother to my child? And then the other side, same side as your handedness, is everybody else. So starting with spouse, father, brother, sibling, colleague, boss, and everyone else. So it's really cool in that sense. So maybe that's also why it's it's weak there because there's that thought seed that kind of is fielded by the shoulders.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, well, and if you think through the chakra system, also it has to do with self-expression and the throat chakra. But I'm thinking of the and the left and right side also. When you know, and the way I explain it, even in broader terms, as opposed to just relationship with mother, father, but also mother energy and father energy within ourselves. So feminine, masculine, that sort of thing. So when you have something on the right side of the body that is getting injured, that would be connected with the more masculine side. Yes, the masculine, because it's left logical brain opposite. And so right side of the body corresponds with father masculine energy. So anything the traits of more analytical things like that, where if you're stuck in something where it's the analytical side as opposed to left side injuries, would be feminine, mother, intuitive, not being connected with your emotion, not being connected with your emotional side, that sort of stuff. From even that's not even the 5 elements. That's I studied decades worth of other healing modalities for years before I started studying Eastern medicine. So, but yeah, the left and right thing is very telling because you often see people where they have injuries always on one side of the body, and it might be the shoulder, it might be the hip and the knee and the ankle or whatever, and it will go and it will become increasingly more limiting as far as mobility, the more it's like our psyche's trying to get our attention, you know, and like, okay, well, I gave you that clue and you ignored it and you medicated it and you took a pill or whatever and you tried to make the pain go away. And then, so I'm going to injure this next, and I'm going to injure that. And it will become increasingly like now you can't even walk because you have to hobble around because now you sprained your ankle on that same side. So it becomes more and more attention getting as people are ignoring the messaging. So, because our bodies are, I mean, one of the main roles of our bodies is to communicate with us, you know, what's going on in our psyches, our consciousness, and everything, you know, big pictures. You know, why are you here in the first place?
Yeah, that's so interesting because also with GHK, because I was also studying that right, left, masculine, feminine. GHK though is so 3D, and it corresponds directly really to whatever's happening in your environment. So the immediate environment would be your exposure to your relationships, your family, that you see them almost daily, and then it would also respond to the office environment because you're exposed to them daily as well. But it's interesting because I don't have children and I don't have my mother anymore because she went to heaven in 2020, and I'm actually biologically left-handed, but I write with my right hand. So so with a clap test. So if you could do the clap test and just clap, and you're right this
Kind of. I do both actually. Don't I? That's what I was kind of. What would I normally do? I do
feels
both. I'm also like left and right brain. You're balanced. So
the probability is one that came up was right. Yeah.
yeah, right over left. But I also know that I do this because sometimes I get a louder sound if I go that way. But
You do
right over left would be the
right over left. Do you do do you like use your left for some things and your right for some things, or like do you do racket sports with the left or cut with your left and then do everything else with the right?
probably. I know that there are tests like, you know, when you're firing a gun, things like you know which eye is dominant.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I am very left brain and right brain because the whole creative side, you know, being a full-time professional artist for years and being a classically trained pianist, but then also becoming an engineer and doing the whole, so left brain, I've always been very both, and I integrate both all the time. So that they feel equally comfortable to me. But the first one that I did was right over left. So
Yeah.
which could mean well.
You could be left-handed just because only the lefties are ambidextrous. So they do some things, you know, the left. So the righties are not ambidextrous. But then when I saw you clap, the first thing that came up was right-handed. So you could be right-handed biologically. For me,
Well, I used to go ahead. I'll tell you something. You may. Well, for years, I would write with my left hand and my right hand, and I would do exercise like just stuff that I created. I used to do all kinds of stuff, but I would write with my left hand. I would write upside down and backwards, just as a brain exercise. And same thing with my right hand. I would write backwards and upside down, and could do it perfectly without really think, like I could just flip everything that way. And I could do it both with my left hand and my right hand.
And your right hand. And if you clasp your hands like this, what thumb would be on top?
Left.
Your left is on top. So likely you are.
That's what goes first. That's what comes.
Well,
Like that one, yeah, that doesn't even feel right that definitely
you have the right on top,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, that the left thumb on this one, it's not
That's
like
natural.
one or the other. So what does that mean when left?
Like without thinking. Likely you would be left-handed.
Okay, well, I mean, when I was going to elementary school, it was kind of trained to, everything was done to teach you to
Exactly.
do everything with your right hand. But because of the fact that I was able to write with my left hand and backwards upside down just as easily as with my right hand, so it might be. But yeah, this one, that doesn't feel right at all. To do with my right thumb over my, that feels very weird. I mean,
yeah, there are other ways to test as well, because there are a lot of people who really think they're right-handed, but they're actually left, and vice versa. But what that means is just that, what side your conflicts would land depending on your handedness. So the opposite side is always mother-child, and then the same side is everybody else. So for me, because I have no children and my mom, is already in heaven, all of my conflicts now would land on the same side, and which lands all on my left side, because I'm left-handed, and mother-child, the opposite side is not presenting at all. And so everything really, if I have a stiff neck, or if I have a bad shoulder, if I have a bad back or something, it always lands on just the left side. So it's an interesting way to kind of validate that. Oh yeah, so it's totally weird. And the Manishe Heilkunde was validated by 60,000 CT scans. So he basically did the scientific experiment and really just observed everybody, interviewed everybody, and collated them. And yes, 100%, this is exactly what is happening. But of course, that's the physical body. There's the energetic body that you were talking about, that contributes greatly as well to how illness or disease is expressed. So I think it's such a valuable way to combine everything, because the people that come to my center, and everybody, of course, I have the Leanne Venier Rejuvenator, and I recently also have the Rejuvenator and the Bluejuvenator. I will want nothing else, because my machines are backed up by the owners, and the owners manufacturers, it comes from their embodied wisdom, and that is what I want. They don't have to have all the bells and whistles, because everybody and her sister are now into biohacking, creating red light therapy, and they all look whatever. But no way, get nothing but Leanne's. And it's not photobiomodulation, just photobiomodulation. Can you explain that, Leanne, why it's not just?
Yes. So if you take, well, okay, first of all, the history is, for almost 20 years now, I've been teaching and validating about the science behind the healing effects of color and light. I'm kind of like, I'm the one that started the whole ball rolling with the whole light realm, because it didn't even exist when I started teaching about it. There were like handheld, a couple of them, skin things in the beauty industry, but there was nothing for healing other than lasers that were being used in, physiotherapy clinics, very expensive lasers that required weeks of training. So you didn't hurt somebody with the lasers, because they're extremely potentially harmful if used incorrectly, and it's easy to use them incorrectly. So, so when I started teaching about the science behind the healing effects of color and light, it wasn't like I decided, this is an interesting topic, I'll start teaching people about it. It's because I became a full-time professional artist, and as a way of kind of like recharging my own batteries. I didn't become a full-time professional artist to recharge my batteries. I started painting as a creative outlet to recharge my batteries, because I'd been doing the healing work for so long and working with patients and letting myself get discharged and depleted. So working too much and studying too much and doing too much and putting that energy outward. So I started painting as a creative outlet, got so much attention like immediately from my paintings that I was creating in flow state as a beginner painter. It was very weird. But I then I got the download to become a full-time professional artist. And the download for me means like very clear instructions to do something. So, and my downloads are always very accurate. So I just do what, they say, and I figured out later why I got the download. So anyway, as I'm a full-time professional artist getting global like recognition internationally in the first few months, and I'm a brand new painter, it was very bizarre. You can like watch some of my videos to see the whole trajectory of how it happened, but without making any effort at all. Wasn't doing anything to put myself out, but like a handful of images on a podunk website without any SEO or anything like that. People started finding me. But anyway, the conversation started when people were having very strong responses to the colors and compositions in my paintings. And I would tell them, because I had already studied all this stuff and, connected the dots between all these disparate fields of study. And I would tell them, if you're really drawn to that color, maybe you've got this going on in your body and this going on in your life. And every time they would be like, oh my God, that's exactly what's going on in my body and my life. How do you know that? So I could tell what was out of balance in people, what energy system and physical organs were out of balance based on the color frequencies that they were craving. So because we crave, like, why do you have a favorite color? And why does that color possibly change later in life? Maybe when you're a child, it's like pink and purple, and then you would change and you like, now you like red, or now you like whatever blue, or whatever your real color is. Green. Yeah, green, balancing color. Yeah. So balancing in that, like if you've got the highs and lows and you want to kind of not bringing yourself too up or too down. I have a lot of videos about all of that, but so green is also when it's an unusual thing and it's like a new craving for green that maybe you haven't had before. It could be like you're at a crossroads. You have because green liver gallbladder energy, the spiritual aspect of liver gallbladder energy is about your purpose in life.
Wow.
That energy system, looking at the color green, being surrounded by the color green, buying a green purse, green towels, whatever it is that you're drawn to, green plants, whatever you want. Yeah, I have a lot of plants, tons of great. But anyway, but if it's something that you're craving, like all of a sudden, it's kind of fun. Like if you go out shopping or flip through a magazine, you can notice what colors you're craving, because like go to somewhere that has tons of towels in all kinds of different colors and like see, but some, of course they sometimes are trendy and it's like now it's all blue greens and, but if you have a good assortment of something where you can go and see a bunch of different colors that aren't just the Pantone colors of the year, then you can kind of see, what am I feeling drawn to right now? Same thing, flipping through a very colorful magazine, like travel magazine. That's a good one, where you flip through and just see which colors grab your attention the most. Not trying to pay attention to the scenery, but just looking for it. That's actually how, when I would go into my studio and start painting, and I didn't know what color I was feeling most drawn to, I would just flip through a couple of travel magazines and I would see, there's that teal, and there's the teal again, and whatever was catching my eye, then I would know that's the color I need to work with today, because it's a balancing color for me. Whatever is out of balance, and I don't always have to know, it's just like I just know I'm feeling drawn to that color. So if I started painting with that color and then going from there, that would catapult me into flow state. So I create.
What is teal?
Teal's a combination of blue and green. So it depends on which side, because teal and turquoise are kind of like used interchangeably as two different words. But so you look at whatever, is it more blue green or is it more green blue? First of all, because teal, it's kind of like
maybe like blue. I think I see more blue green, more of like the blue
and
the green.
Yeah, so blue is still, that's also a balancing, but it's so the color blue is a calming, sedating color. It corresponds to kidney bladder energy, which the emotion is fear. So if there's fear or anxiety or something like that, and that's creating stress, being drawn to the color blue will bring your energy down. It's calming and sedating, which most people kind of have an intuitive sense, looking at the ocean, it's calming, brings you down. Green is neutralizing, but it's also it's the neutral energy color if it's true green, because it's red, orange, yellow are stimulating colors. Green is in the middle, neutral. It's also heart chakra. And then blue, indigo, violet are sedating, calming colors. So green is centering, brings you back to center. It's neither stimulating nor sedating, which is why it's often used in spas, because some people come in and they're super tired and they need to bring their energy up. If they're lethargic, green will bring their energy up because it's above, it's higher energy than the blue, indigo, and violet, but it's not going to be stimulating like being around red. So people that are stressed out, that are red, orange, yellow, that are in that higher energy state, it will bring their energy down. But green again, so blue being for neutralizing fear states, and green for giving clarity about direction in life. If you think just from the spiritual aspect, there are so many different layers. Does that resonate?
Yeah, absolutely. I only asked about teal because in my practice of Psych-K, something called psychology, kinesiology, it's this belief change modality. We use teal. So there's also kind of an energetic aspect to it where we infuse energy into the belief points on the body, and it's teal energy is what we're using.
Yeah, you can see how it's kind of universal. And when there are blockages, they're often stemming from fear and being stuck. They're big root causes for a lot of people.
So it makes sense. And I have a question too. I mean, this would be interesting because I often see a lot of kids with fear and anxiety, and actually even adults would, having them wear the color blue or seeing color blue more, would that help them in a way?
Well, so kidney bladder energy, the emotion is fear. So if you want to strengthen kidney bladder energy, wearing the color blue, it's going to be calming. It's going to give boost confidence also. So yeah, I mean, yeah, it's got the double thing where it's calming you down, but also stimulating and nourishing kidney bladder energy. Does that make sense? So
Amazing.
the emotion is fear.
The emotion is fear. So would you say, because I think I read this somewhere where it's a color therapy, chromotherapy book, and they changed even the bed sheets of the child and made it blue, and everything was blue, and over time the child balanced even more.
Yeah, there's a lot. I mean, just surrounding yourself with blue, enveloping yourself. I mean, even things like if you have cold feet, wearing red socks actually warms up your feet. Red in particular, because anyway, there's so many different layers to how we take in color, and we've been kind of conditioned to not even pay attention to it. So when people watch some of my videos and I'm talking about the different color frequencies and how we respond to them from a physiological, psychological, energy body perspective, all these different layers, and it all intertwines, then you can start using color to your advantage, like paying attention to the colors that you're craving, because they will change. I mean, we usually have kind of a constant, like, oh, that's my favorite color kind of thing, but you'll also find that at different times you crave other colors, and it may be for a few months, it may be for a few years, it may be just for a few weeks while you're going through some kind of challenging period where craving that particular color will help to nourish the energy system that's feeling blocked or stuck or deficient or whatever.
Right, and I think every day of the week has a particular color. Would you know about that? There's somebody in Bazi or Chinese or Feng Shui who mentioned to me Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, each day has a color, and they wear actually those colors on those days.
Yeah, I don't know how that would actually work for be a universal thing where it's like I'd have to think about that. Plus the days of the week are, not always the same.
Not that
different in different cultures. Anyways, yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's like everybody's individual. I don't think that there's not any one cookie cutter thing that can apply to everyone. You can have general things that are in common, but then for each individual, that interpretation will be very specific. Like even for, the GHK, where you've got, well, it's something to do with self-confidence or, that will, and maybe mother energy or father energy, but then you go into more detail with the individual. So it's okay, well, that's broad, but now let's narrow it down for that individual and see what is in your situation, because there are so many different ways to interpret one thing like that. So with color, it's kind of like if you're craving a certain color on a certain day or for a period of time, then you can look and like, what does this what does this color do for me, or what does it do in general from the different aspects, energy, body, psychological, psycho-emotional, physical, physiological, and then go, that resonates because I'm going through this time period right now where I'm trying to figure out, should I take this job or this job? Should I move to this city or whatever it is, like in the case of green. Green is kind of a one that comes up often as a diagnostic, because a lot of people don't have green as their favorite color. Like
Really?
it's more common where people go like towards reds or orange or like blues and that sort of thing, because green is such a balancing color. Usually when people, whether constitutionally or during a certain time period, they're usually kind of one way or the other. Like my long-term favorite color, but I don't wear it, is red. Red is a high energy color. I'm like full of energy all the time, but it's kind of like my battery recharge color. But somebody who likes to go, I like to do a million things. My brain is going all the time, but I thrive in that state. I'm constantly thinking. I don't get depleted from being in that state. It's my natural way that I thrive in the world. Like I had many years where I was exhausted all the time. But now with the Rejuvenator, so at my force energy gas tank is always nice and full. So you see, when like I have a very hard time sitting still, like sitting in one spot to do so that's why I wave my hands around, I'm rocking, and it's kind of distracting for some people. So this is the best I can do. I didn't pick one spot and have a conversation with you here.
Would balance that out then, like, the sitting around and whatever. Would it be green or
it's not a matter of, it's kind of like, it's like telling a kid who has, a bundle of energy. Kids have an abundance of energy, and telling them to go to the classroom,
right?
there isn't something that should balance it out. That's their natural state. To balance it out, you go and have recess every hour and 5 minutes running around outside. That's what that is it out. So like, it's not about like, let's suppress the fact that you have so much energy, with really ADHD drugs that cause all kinds of problems.
Exactly.
It's about like, change the structure that you're educating children. Like, don't have it like where they have to sit. My dog's pushing me.
Especially for boys. Boys are supposed to be running around and climbing and, skinning their knee and everything. They're made to.
Girls also, that's, I was a total tomboy. Well, that was
But girls too. But yeah. But boys even more, because they're
Yes.
designed to like.
And it's the same thing. My dogs, my male dogs are so, like, all of them have a ton of energy. But two of my youngest male dogs, they're just like constantly tearing around, chasing each other. And like, and then they're like, okay, I'm tired up, finally. But that's how human boy, they just have so much energy, and it's all that yang energy. Yang is that outward energy. Is the internal. Yin is feminine, yang is masculine, but we all have, and yang energy. Little girls tend to be more yin and want to just sit around for hours and play with their dolls or whatever they enjoy doing, or, making crafts and things, which I personally did as a child. I could sit and work on creative projects and lose track of time, get into flow, play the piano for hours and lose track of time. But then wanted to be out running around and like had to be outside in nature. And that's the thing about the Rejuvenators, because we started off talking about the difference between the Rejuvenators and light therapy, or just general light therapy,
Right.
photobioculation. There are different names for it, but it's so once I validated the science of light therapy, and the light therapy industry started booming, I mean, because people were taking my teachings and writing blogs about them, and my videos were spreading. I was doing tons of interviews that were really starting with my paintings and then just kind of spread from there. But it was all about, why do people have such strong responses to the colors in your paintings? And then sharing about the healing effects of color and light. Light and color are synonymous. A lot of times people think, oh, color therapy, light therapy, it's all the same thing, because you can't have light without color within it. Every light bulb has color within it, whether it's, white bulb that has a minimum of red, green, and blue, or red bulbs, which are just red. They're not bulbs of LEDs, but whatever it is, all light has color within it, and you can't see color in your surroundings or outside or anywhere if you don't have light to illuminate it, to reflect the color back to you, to your eyes. And the color that you see reflected back to your eyes will be 100% dependent on the light that is shining on that color, because the influence of the light on the color depends on the colors that are within the light itself. So anyway, that's getting way more technical, but anyway, the whole point being that color and light are synonymous. You can't have one without the other. Yeah. But after 10 years of, more than 10 years of teaching about the science behind the healing effects of color and light, and I was already teaching about the energy medicine component because I was bringing that in as well, because I wanted to validate, can't like throw too many things at people as a brand new paradigm at one time. Mm-hmm. So I started with the light, then I went into the energy medicine quantum healing component. So all the light therapy devices that are on the market, they're just the light part, but you can't have complete healing without the energy, because if you is it using our body as a car analogy? So let's say you've got an old beat up car, and it's like from the 19s, been around for a very long time, and it's rusty and it's been dented and the interior is all kind of falling apart and the leather seats are falling apart. Anyway, you can make that car beautiful again. You could repair the outside, clean up the, the gunk in the tubes. You can put in new seats. You can paint it, give it a whole new body, make it all nice and shiny. But until you put gas in the car, it's not going anywhere. Yes. It doesn't matter all the external stuff and all the battery and all that, all the obsession with people putting, Botox and stuff in their faces, and it's like, I said, wait, doing it. But anyway, that's a whole discussion. But anyways, so the light therapy alone can work on cells, tissue, mitochondria, and stuff like that. So you can provide benefit by putting the light into the cells that are going to then respond. But if you have a body that is deficient in life force energy, like your gas tank is running on fumes, and that's a high percentage of people out there, they're tired and depleted all the time. They get up, they don't feel rested, they feel exhausted, they start drinking coffee, or they do Red Bull, or they take whatever accelerants or stimulants that they get, like whether it's herbal or, otherwise, they're basically trying to constantly jumpstart a dead battery by using these artificial supports just to get through their day. And then they're exhausted, they sleep, they don't sleep well, they wake up again the next day and they do it all over again. So if you put, like red light from say some intense, light therapy device and blast yourself with this very intense red light, it actually will make sick people worse, which we know for a fact now. And I predicted that early on. And it will make sick people even worse, because you're trying to throw medicate a problem that isn't. It's not about you need more energy. You need more life force energy. So if you and this is where you walk in here, where people will do a red light therapy treatment, and it will make them feel like a jolt of energy, and that'll last for a little while, and then they'll crash again. It's the same thing as if you take a car with a dead battery. You can jumpstart the battery, right, and it will go, and you can drive the car for a while, and as soon as you turn off the engine, you can't start the car again, because the battery doesn't hold charge. It's just like you're doing it artificially. You're jump starting a dead battery, and it's like, okay, well, now I can use it to drive around, but as soon as I turn off the car, the battery's dead again, and I have to, if I want to make the car go, I have to jump start it. That's like drinking coffee or using a red light therapy device to boost your energy temporarily. But it's not putting gas into your gas tank. It's just giving you an artificial jolt. It's not charging up the battery. It's not keeping the energy in the battery. It's just giving you enough to get started, and then you can go for a while, and then you're off again. So the Rejuvenator, when I finally agreed after 10 years of pestering, and it literally is 10 years of pestering from people wanting me to have my own product line, I'm like, no, I don't want to manufacture anything. I don't want to sell anything. I didn't want to do anything that felt like going back into engineering. I didn't thrive in that corporate environment. And I also didn't want to sell anything because I'm like, I just want to teach people like why you need to go and get not just sunshine. Sunshine provides benefit, but you really want to be surrounded by nature with sunshine. But even if you don't have sunshine, being surrounded by nature, that's going to fill up your gas tank, your life force energy gas tank. Because when you're in nature, there's an abundance of chi, prana, ki, life force energy, whatever. They're all the same thing. It's just different names for the same thing. So when you're feeling depleted, go and spend time in nature. And it's amazing how that will, and that's what I used to do when I was exhausted and depleted. I couldn't even walk up a hill. I would just go and like, here trees, give me some energy, and I would feel better. But when your gallbladder energy system is so stuck from early trauma anyway, so you have to heal the original wounds, but the Rejuvenator fills up your life force energy gas tank. So it's a quantum healing, energy medicine, whatever term you want to use. It's healing the energy body system by putting energy into your life force energy gas tank. So it's not just treating the skin or the cells or the mitochondria or whatever. It's doing all of that. Plus, it's filling up your gas tank. So it's beautifying the car. It's, putting in new leather seats, painting it and all of that stuff. And it's also putting gas in the gas tank. So the light therapy devices don't put gas in the gas tank. They just do the, and at best, if they even do that, because there are tons of them that just have marginal results, even in skin stuff, That's what you exactly. Those masks, there's a bunch of them now. There's a ton of them, and people buy them. They're so impractical also because it's like you have to wear them for a very long time, and then you can't do anything else because you can't see through. I mean, I've just seen tons of them. I used. People are constantly selling them because people don't sell stuff that works for them. Right. So. And that's just
there are even some that look exactly like yours. They look exactly like it's like a replica.
Well, people started copycatting the Rejuvenators within the first year. Yeah, because they're like the Rejuvenator. I should have one here. I didn't think to bring one. But the Rejuvenator is a silver case. It's 12 inches by 12 inches. When I finally agreed to launch them, the formula, I already had the recipe. I just didn't have a container, the bigger jar that I wanted to put them in. So I looked online. I'm like, I just need to have a container for my recipe. And I wanted something that was big, cover a large surface area. I wanted something that would be universal, that you can use for everything. You don't have to put it up anywhere, and it's got a much broader surface so you can cover a large surface area instead of a small, like the really small white thing.
Yes, I remember in 2016.
The same recipe, but on a much bigger, in the matrix and the pattern of the lights and all of that, which contributes to the healing benefits. So all of it together, I just needed to find a good jar. So what I found was that case, that shell, that was already being used for residential lighting. I'm like, this is perfect. This is the perfect jar for my recipe. Like, like a pasta chef, in San Francisco, he's got his amazing restaurant. If you want to eat his incredible pasta sauce, you have to fly to San Francisco and eat it in his restaurant. And people are like, can you please put your recipe in a jar so I can buy it in Illinois or Idaho or the Philippines or wherever? The pasta chef says, okay, I'll make my sauce, my secret sauce, and I'll put it, I'll market it and put it in a jar and sell it. But he doesn't have to invent the jar. He just needs to shop for a good jar. I like this one. It's got a good shape. I like the aesthetics. It holds well. It's functional. You can open it. So anyway, that's the analogy I use. So I went shopping for a good jar because I didn't have to invent a new jar. It had to find a good jar to hold my recipe. And because I'm an engineer, and that's kind of a pragmatic aspect of engineering design. If you can find something that already exists and repurpose it or tweak it in a way that will adapt to a new application, you save tons of money on manufacturing costs because you're taking something that already exists, you're modifying it. And I used to do that when I designed submarines. Also, I would, look for solutions that would save costs and make the manufacturing process a lot easier instead of just inventing a new part from scratch. I'd go and talk to the guys in the machine shop and I'd see, hey, this is what I want to do. This is my idea. Is this going to be easy to machine and manufacture? And they're like, no, but we already have something that will kind of do that and we can tweak it. Like, okay, perfect.
And that's why you're right and left brained because you're an engineer and then you have all of this color therapy and everything. You're an artist.
Yeah. And we artists, the classical pianist training and all of that. But yeah, it's always been quite balanced for me, or it's needed to have it balanced, because if I gone too far in one direction, like when I was an engineer, not integrate creative part, like I had to like, oh, I need to have a creative outlet at the same time, because you get out of balance. I mean, everybody really needs that optimally. Everybody needs to exercise their creative side, and it's kind of poo-pooed in modern culture, like, oh, you don't need to color or do creative stuff. That's, considered to be a luxury, or, or it's for kids, but everybody can benefit from that, because when you do something where you lose complete track of time and you get into flow, the zone, aims for that flow state, then that in itself is very healing. It's so connects you to your core self and to, universal consciousness, collective unconscious, whatever terms you want to use, God. And it aligns you both with yourself and without. And when you're in flow, whatever thoughts you've got going on in your mind, I mean, you're broadcasting that. I mean, that was how my whole art career took off without me making any effort. And people just started finding me over and over again, again, as a beginner artist, beginner painter. And I was, like, people finding me from across the world with this little podunk website with 10 images.
Yeah. I think people should get, get into flow state also to get those. Remember you're saying about downloads? I'm exactly the same. I get the same thing, downloads. And it's almost like you don't even question it. It's direct cognition. It's like, oh yeah, I know this. That's exactly how I also got into bulletproof and biohacking, was a download. Follow this guy, go over there, study this, and just follow, and it'll make sense. I promise. And even, I've gone into a course where I'm like, what the heck am I doing in this ballroom? Like, this is for the Anat-Baniel method, the Feldenkrais method. And I never thought I would ever be a body worker, that I would ever have somebody on a table and I would work on feet and head and hands. And on the first day, why am I here? And it's like, trust the process.
Yeah, but you were guided.
Years later, we were guided. And it's like, it doesn't make sense at the time, but the pull is so strong. And believe me, your higher self and your connection to God source and all of this flow stuff, they know already. They know that this is where you need to be. And, 6 years later, in retrospect, it's like, it's the most profound work I've ever learned. It's the human connection, especially in this world of AI now. The human connection is so needed and so powerful, and it's what is our medicine, really. So it kind of makes sense that way.
Yes, needing it more and more than ever. And with cultures in the last couple of generations being literally weaned from baby, to be here, mother takes the baby here. You stick the tablet in front of their face, because then I don't have to deal with them. I can focus on my stuff. And it's easier for mothers now to hear, baby, contain yourself. And it's so sad. I see it so often when I'm out and about, and I'm like, shopping cart and just like glued to this electronic device where they can't even develop empathy. They don't relate to the outside world. And then I'll see tables full of kids, kids to 20, even in their 30s, because it's like that generation as well. They're all on their phones. I literally have seen this where it's like they're texting each other and they're at the same table with each other. They're texting each other instead of just talking to it's like you're right there. Like, they don't know how to connect with each other. It's really, it's part of the programming. It's by design, but, parents really need to think about that when they are, it's like kids should not have these things. You can use them as a useful tool, but it's not like a 24-hour day thing where they connect and then they believe the stuff coming out of this more than their parents, because their parents don't know anything. And then that's how they also get easily programmed.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's what I love about biohacking and your work and everything. It's really realigning, connecting back to nature. Like what you said, go out in nature in the forest, get the colors of the green and then the red sunrise and sunset, the blues and everything, full spectrum light and everywhere, right?
Yes. Yes.
Uh,
It's like that's like the multivitamin effect when you're going out, and it's not just the sunlight, because the sunlight does provide a lot of benefit. Obviously, we evolved to live and thrive under sunlight, and I was the first one that started talking about the colors within sunlight, because everybody back when I started teaching about all this, everybody, it had just come out about the UVB and vitamin D connection. There was all this talk about UV is harmful, burns you and stuff. So all the cancer, like sunlight gives you cancer. And people had been programmed already for decades at that point to fear sunshine, because back in I think it was the 70s that people were still doing all the sunbathing and stuff. But then the 80s started creeping in cancer, sunshine, and which is the polar opposite. Like, it's like, when you spend time in sunshine, your probability of getting cancer goes way down. So the inverse proportional relationship between the amount of sunshine and the probability of cancer, heart disease, anything, it's like this: more sunshine, less disease. So, but getting just the sunshine component without the nature component, that's not enough. That's like light therapy without the quantum healing component. So when you get sunshine in the middle of New York City, for example, it's like, yeah, that's better than nothing, but you still have the negative effect because you're surrounded by toxic energies, Wi-Fi, all the electricity, the chaos of the city, the chaos of the people that are projecting that chaotic energy, stress and all that, pollution. So all those things are like little straws siphoning off your life force energy. Every single one is like, shh. So you're going to get benefit from the sunshine, but you're still the negative net is still, you're basically trying to, do something to counter all the negativity that you're being exposed to by being in a city that's surrounded by those toxic energies. So when you go out and you go into nature, it actually puts that life force energy into your gas tank. So because the sunlight, it has, will go and channel through the body and stuff like that. You can take in all these healing energies and colored light from the sun, but it's not going to fill up your life force energy gas tank like it would if you're in nature. Same thing, but you can go in nature, you can be in nature at night and you're still getting your life force energy gas tank filled up, even though there's no sun. So I try to distinguish it for people. It's like they're two different things, but they work together.
Right.
So when you're in nature with sunshine, it's phenomenal.
Yeah. Say, buddy, in New York, then, like in a concrete jungle, or somebody like me, I live in a city, but actually, fortunately, I live in a place where there's a lot of trees, and the trees are actually attracting, birds that I would only see in like a more rural area. And that's fortunate for me. But for others who don't see any green or whatever, or people in the concrete jungle, like in the Upper East Side, whatever, what would they do? Would they have to go to Central Park every day and kind of sunshine
even in Nick days, being in a city with trees, it's better than nothing.
Yeah.
Having trees is better than nothing, but it's nothing like being in a forest or next to a pristine ocean, not like Los Angeles. Oh, you got contamination, pollutants, and the chaotic energy of LA. Like being immersed in real nature, that's where you get that life force energy. You can actually see, I've taught a bunch of people how to see prana, chi, ki. If you're in a place where there's a lot of it, an abundance of it, and you look up into the sky, it's like I would like to see right now. You can be a treat. His treat is he loves affection. I have some of my dogs are just like it's like they like treats, and I give them all single ingredient.
They love touch,
but
they love your
his love, affection. So that's his treat. So the I lost my tangent of where I went off on a tangent. I was talking
outside, but you get when you
so if you go in somewhere where there are a lot of trees, or ideally immersed in nature, and you look up in the sky, don't look on a sunny day, it's easiest. If you look up in the sky, but don't look directly at the sun, look somewhere like look where you can see the clear sky,
Okay.
but not looking directly at the sun. But when there's sunshine, it's the easiest to see. And if you let your eyes go slightly out of focus, like kind of, when you kind of daydream or whatever, you're tired and you like your eyes go out of focus and you're kind of like that, not actually focused on anything. I haven't had that happen in years, but I remember when I used to all the time. When I'd be so tired, I'm like, everything's. But anyway, let your eyes relax and go slightly out of focus where you're not looking at the clouds or the sky and you're not trying to focus here close to you. You're just kind of like letting your gaze soften. And as you do that, then you'll start to see all these little
Squigglies. I'd seen that. Squigglies. Yes.
there's little squid that's prana. They look like little spermatozoa actually, and they don't. It's not like people are like, you mean floaters? No, those are in your eyes. When you got little, but they're red. You got to put all the for clearing floaters. That's one of the first things that clears. So yeah. So that's the easiest way to see it. But you'll notice if you try to do the same thing in a city, and you learn how to do it in nature and then do it in the city, and you're going to see it's like, oh, there's hardly any compared to when you're in nature, just like tons of them, little sparkly. But in the city, it's like you might see some, but it's like a much smaller percentage. So learn in nature, and then then you can practice in the city and see.
Wow, amazing. Yeah. I wanted to circle back to remember what you're saying about melanoma and skin cancer and with the sun. So it's always 100% rule. So in GHK, melanoma is actually an attack conflict because it's fielded, or the layer that responds to it is the dermis or the corium skin. So it's the lower, like the deeper skin that's designed for protection. And it's an attack conflict. And it can be like an attack, like a literal knife attack or a hit by a person, somebody hit you there. It could also be, to some extent, a verbal attack, like you felt you were attacked verbally by a person. And I actually have one of those. It's not really a melanoma, but it could be because it's quite thick. It's on the part of my left outer thigh on the side, where when I was doing this martial art, Filipino martial art, it's called Kali or Arnese. And I was sparring with my teacher, and I was a complete novice. And my teacher, for some reason, hit me on that part of the, while sparring. And it's like, oh my God, I really felt attacked. I was so shocked. To this day, I still have this welt there that's quite thick. And what the body wants to do is thicken itself, so that if you get attacked in the same place, you won't feel it.
Right.
So it's just there.
So I'm curious. Oh, I'm curious to know exactly where it is. Is it like on the outer thigh, and is it on the midline? Like if you were wearing a soldier's uniform, soldier stripe, where that would be? Or is it more towards the front of your leg or the back of your leg?
Or on the midline on the side, and like smack the middle.
Yeah. So it's kind of like here I'm wearing like shorts on, but like here.
Yeah.
So
A little bit, a little bit, kind of.
Is it kind of where your hand falls, middle finger, like around there?
A little lower.
A little lower, closer to your knee. That's right on the gallbladder meridian. So the gallbladder meridian, liver gallbladder energy system, that's the emotion is anger. Did you feel angry when he did that? Sounds like it's still stuck in your brain. Oh, really? It made you that angry? Yeah. So that's still, but you can clear that. Have you tried using the Rejuvenator? Because you could, doing the detox protocol and the abdominal protocol, and then also treating. I mean, the Rejuvenator is phenomenal for healing even decades old scars. But I've had this conversation just recently. Like when somebody has tons of scars. I mean, even if you're not treating on the scar, I've had tons of people in the community that have reported it's like, yeah, the scar that I had for, since I was a little kid, it's like I never even put the Rejuvenator there and it started healing. It will like start healing. It will activate the healing from the inside out, where the injury will start releasing and it will start getting kind of crusty. Like I don't have a scar here, but let's just say, but people will start noticing it's like, oh, the scar that's been like hard and leathery for decades, now all of a sudden it's getting this crusty little like film on it. I experienced it myself because I had a scar, not a scar. I actually had a dark brown, possibly a melanoma up here. I had trying to think, where were the other scars that I had that were, but I can't even remember any that are ready to be released, whatever. But you'll feel like the surface will start getting kind of like flaky, like a snake sloughing off its skin, because it's pushing new cellular growth up from the inside out. It's shedding the dead layers from the surface, and it's renewing the scar from within, like with brand new cells, even though they've been dormant for sometimes decades, and even like deep keloid scars and things like that. Or like traumatic, if you see one like that and you need to release trauma, like yours is clearly trauma related, and there's like the emotional stress associated with that, and it is right on the gallbladder meridian, because the gallbladder meridian goes down the midline of the outer part of the leg, in addition to being up here and all the stuff. That
Right.
it covers a lot of stuff. So it's actual lines that are energy pathways for gallbladder, and liver and gallbladder are paired together. But when people have pain or imbalance, it's often gallbladder blockage. Liver, gallbladder. I talk about, it doesn't necessarily mean the physical organ has been affected, although it often does, when it's been long-standing. But common things with liver, gallbladder energies, like shoulder injuries, carpal tunnel, hip pain or imbalance, like sacral pain, because the hips are imbalanced because one side or the other is blocked. And again, that's where we go to that right-left thing, which side is blocked. And what are some other liver, gallbladder? Ankle pain sometimes, or like top of the foot, big toe goes to, like, when people have things going on with their big toe, because that's the liver toe and also the liver toe. But yeah, so common that one-sided headache, pain in the
I would put the red light right above this scar. Would I use a
if you want to use the Rejuvenator would heal it. If you just use a red light.
No, I mean, Rejuvenator, yes, which is quite a big difference.
I was correct. It's like, don't call it a red light, because that's like called.
I only have yours, so it's red, green, and blue. So okay, Rejuvenator, I put it on,
but not just locally. Treat the root, which is in the liver, gallbladder energy system, and the psycho-emotional aspect of that is that anger stuck in the energy system, and that's where it's localized, because that's where you got hit. But it created that trauma, even though it's not like, it's like it was a trauma for you, and it's still stuck in the energy body, which is why you still have that injury there, kind of a constant reminder for you. When you think about it, do you still look kind of on it? Like, when he did that, he just you still feel actually.
This is so interesting. I don't, because I find that forgiveness and release has so many layers, and it's like, if you don't really release the psyche root cause of it, which is like the where it started, the thought seed, it can still kind of linger. Like if I think about him, oh, it's okay. I don't care anymore. I haven't talked to him, and I know he's kind and everything. But the fact that it's still there, and I love this about the physical body and our organs, it's that it's kind of reminding you that it's still there, girl. There's
still a lingering thing. Like, and
and this conversation is kind of reminding me that, hey, you probably haven't released it, because it's still, the body is still kind of presenting it as a reminder that it's still there. So now I would love to work with the Rejuvenator on the scar, and then on the the detox protocol, and on the abdomen and everything, and then work on releasing the thought seed, the psychobiological root cause of it as well.
And the Green Juvenator would be helpful for you with that as well, because if you do the detox protocol with the Green Juvenator, you can do it locally. I always encourage people to experiment, but because the Green Juvenator is going to directly target the liver, gallbladder energy system.
Right.
And it will move that energy through more, like the number 3, I call it the foundational. So like, nobody can get the Green Juvenator or the Blue Juvenator without using the number 3. The number 3 builds the strong foundation of your pyramid. Red is all about, from the chakra system, it's about survival. So like in Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which I assume you probably know, you can't ask somebody who's starving to death or can't, afford to buy groceries for their family to, start thinking about being altruistic and caring about other people. It's like that's why you have so often in third world countries where people are just like, I just need to take care of my family. I don't care what happens with everybody else. Like they're in that survival mode. So they're taking care of their own basic needs. So it's like finances, home, survival, shelter. It's all about, and about, procreation from the pure procreation standpoint. So that's red foundational. So it's physical energy. So you need to take care of basic needs also in your healing process. You want to create that strong foundation. Again, the foundation of the pyramid. If you're building a house, you can spend all this energy trying to build the upper stories and make those beautiful. But it's like, if you don't have a nice, strong foundation, first time a strong wind blows or there's a minor earthquake, it's like the whole house is going to topple down. So the number 3 Rejuvenator, the universal, brings that strong foundation. The green Rejuvenator will treat symptoms that are related to liver, gallbladder, and spleen, stomach energy system. But it's like, then you're just substituting, treat and fix them. I've had people that, when we were doing the pre-launch research phase, medical doctors treat it's like frozen that are unable to be, they've been able to move this shoulder, but this one has only gone this far for like 12 years. They haven't been able to go out. And then one treat with the Green Rejuvenator, it's like it opens it up because it opens up that blockage in the liver, gallbladder, meridian energy system, so that now all of a sudden the frozen shoulder can move freely. But that's not addressing the root. It's just medicating the symptoms, fixing the symptom. When you want to do both, you want to take care of the symptoms and heal the symptoms because that's what creates the discomfort. But at the same time, you want to heal the root like you do with the GHK because you want to you don't want the problem to keep coming back. You don't want to have to keep fixing it over and over again. You want to fix it and heal where that blockage, stuck energy, deficiency came from in the first place. And that's almost always starting up here. So, and having an understanding of where that blockage comes from, because that's our psyche. You don't have to have full awareness of everything to have complete healing, but it helps because that's what your body's trying to get you to pay attention to in the first place. That trauma that you had, that whatever, that instructor that hit you in the leg, and pissed you off. And it's like, I'm forgiven. I'm not holding on to any anger, but still your energy body still has that trapped in there, and which is telling you, so got the mark, and still reminding you, you need to pay attention to that. And once you have really released it, then if the mark will,
then it will tell me that, hey, you've really released it, because then the body doesn't have to remind you anymore that it's there. But so now I'm very grateful to have this, because then I can self-experiment and check it out and see. And it'll be a great testimonial.
do the Green Rejuvenator also on the abdomen, because it's not just liver, gallbladder, stuck energy. It's also about that self-nurturing aspect, because whenever, like I said, remember I said liver, gallbladder, and spleen, stomach, self-nurturing go out of balance hand in hand. So that also was a blow to your spleen, stomach energy, that self-nurturing, because it felt almost like an abuse. And there's the, self-confidence and all the stuff that you talked about from the, the psycho-emotional side, where if it's like, it's a trauma. I mean, it's it knocks you down, and it knocked you down to the point that you quit because to that individual, and it probably killed your confidence in that whole, arena. Like, I don't want to go there anymore.
Oh,
yeah,
totally. Yes. It makes so much sense. Yeah. Gosh, amazing. And that is like the healing system. It's like different layers, the energy, the psycho emotion, because everything is so connected. Hi, sweetheart. Look at that baby. Hi.
He's our little daddy to sell any of my other dogs. Here's another one. This is Adonis.
There you go. Hi,
He's got one blue eye and one brown eye, and Loki has two very ice blue eyes. He really.
Look at the babies. Okay, these sweethearts.
Okay, all right. Now let's.
I think they want their mommy. Yeah.
Well, no, because Adonis, it's like if somebody is up on my lap, he's got to just like, she's also. Yeah, so he's.
Look at the babies. They're all there. Hi, sweet. Hi, baby.
They're all very, very balanced and
They
super
are.
and very,
Yeah.
some more friendly to, new people than others, but some of them are, what are you doing in our house, and get away from my mother kind of thing.
But
Exactly.
Yeah, let me.
So you-
I'll take turns.
So, anyways, yeah, the purpose also of this conversation is so people learn more about your wisdom, your work, and everything that you do for everybody, the biohacking community, and so that they have like legit photobiomodulation and above, quantum light therapy, the quantum light healing, and everything. Where can people find you? And actually, could you also tell us how many minutes the right dose is for for putting the light on each place, and then the protocol, and also where people can find you?
Okay, so the dosage, as you call it, most treatments are, because the quantum healing part of the rejuvenators, anytime that you have any kind of energy medicine treatment or acupuncture or anything that has to circulate the energy body, well, treatment times are always 20 minutes. I had a very hard time, even like Reiki, prana therapy, things like that. They're always 20 minutes is the amount of time that it takes to fully circulate the energy body. So the treatment times for the rejuvenator for most things are 20 minutes, but you can always do longer than that. There's benefit to doing more, but the minimum you want to do for root level protocols is going to be 20 minutes. But for treating, like I want to get rid of wrinkles on my skin, 3 minutes is sufficient. You can do like shorter treatments for that sort of thing, which is just superficial. But then you also, for really reversing the signs of aging, you want to treat the root, which is, like why are you getting accelerated aging on the skin in the first place? Because that's usually inability to take in nutrients from the food, and also stress, which is the blockage in liver, gallbladder, energy system, right, deficiency in swayed stomach. Those two come up so often. But anyway, so 20 minutes for most root level treatments, unless it's something like traumatic brain injury. You have a ton of people that have completely healed from that, even from like last BI. Those I'm always like, start up with just like 2 to 3 minutes, because the rejuvenator, because it's moving energy, it's not just treating cells, it's actually moving and stuck. And when you have a traumatic brain injury from many years ago, or even like a few weeks ago, whatever it is, the energy is very stuck that in the brain, so it will start moving that. So I tell people, just start with baby steps, and then you can kind of increase from there. But otherwise, most are 20 minutes, except for the superficial, like somebody wants to treat the eczema or clear up their psoriasis, then doing shorter treatments for surface treatments are fine. But the energy body component is, and I did double blind study.
20 minutes.
Was living in Italy, because I was like, who came up with this number? I was like very skeptical. I'm very skeptical about all new things, so I always do tons of research, and then I do isolate variables. I don't just take anything. Must have this happen. I don't confuse causation and correlation, meaning like something happens and then another thing happens. It's not necessarily because of that thing. It could be because of those 3 other things that you just introduced in your diet or the new supplement or whatever it is, if that makes sense. So,
All right. Yeah.
so you,
Okay.
so
what do you mean?
isolating variables is something I do a lot. I teach people. It's really
Amazing.
important to introduce some new thing into your life. Do one thing at a time, and then see how you respond. So also when people are using different, things, I'm like, if you want to start having really accelerated healing results with your rejuvenator, and I've been trying this and this and this, and I have all these devices. I'm like, I recommend that you stop using all of those, start using the rejuvenator, and see what happens in a very short period of time with just the rejuvenator. And then there's no confusing it. It's not that it's contraindicated to use with other things. It's just like, if you want to know what's healing, then you do one thing at a time. Because people are so susceptible also. And I've had people like, mega millionaires that have invested, hundreds of thousands of dollars on different devices for their health. And they've told me, it's like, I stopped using all that stuff. I had like literally hundreds of thousands of dollars of machinery. All I use now is the rejuvenator. They don't even, it's like, and they don't care who's selling it, because it's like, it's just, it's fair change for them. But yeah, so people are like, well, it's so inexpensive, it's only $659. So, plus the shipping.
Yeah.
But, how can it possibly be providing all that benefit? And I'm like, well, because I I print so that any family can be able to afford at least one. And and you can use it for the entire family. And that's been part of my mission since day one. I want to provide all-in-one healing tool that will work for every member of your family, including newborns, including pregnant women, and including your pets, because we've had so many incredible life-saving healing stories with pets. And there, it's like, because people are like, oh, placebo effect. And like, you tell your dog that this is going to heal you, and it does. It's like, they're not going, oh, okay, well, she said, But anyway, so my website is catalytic.
Oh, wait, I just wanted to ask Leanne, how many minutes for the newborn and for pets?
Yeah. So newborns, you can tell it's really the same treatment time because it's the amount of time that it takes. But sometimes newborns and young children, they'll absorb it more quickly, and then they'll always know best. You can tell with a newborn, like if it starts getting fidgety, but usually when you start treating, they'll go like that. And then if they start getting fidgety, then it's like they're done for that treatment. I've had people that have healed like severe jaundice in babies, and they started off with like, 3-minute treatment because I'm like, how much should I do? And like, no, you can probably do longer. And that it's like the baby will let you know. And then the baby will know. Pets will often treat. I tell people I wish I brought one in here and anything to do that. But when you're treating pets, cats, dogs, any animals, but cats and dogs usually are in the home. I've had people that have used them on iguanas and chickens and horses and stuff like small racehorses, like professional racehorses. If you prop it up so it's leaning against a vertical surface and have it leaning very slightly, a space where the pet already likes to lay down, like in front of their bed or on the sofa or on your bed, wherever your pets like to hang out, have it propped up there. And when they need it, you won't have to talk them into it. It's like they'll be glomming onto it. That's probably the number one picture in the Rejuvenator community, where people like who just get the Rejuvenator and they're like, I started to do a treatment for myself and my dog came over and is like, get out of the way and like trying to hog the light. And same thing with cats. Cats, if you leave it there, they'll just like climb right on top of it. It's like mine now. But
That's true for one of my cats.
Yeah, they love it. But if they're doing that, I'm like, okay, well, after you do your treatment, set it up for your pet. And like I said, the easiest way is just to have it leaning up against something, and then the pet can go, because then they can position their body however they need to. Like they can do their abdomen, they can do their back, they can do their side. They'll often look right into it, or they might put their back or their hip or whatever to it. And that way, and they can roll around, they can stretch out. I tell them, make sure they have enough room where they can do this full stretch thing if they want to, and they'll do a rotisserie thing. And they will often want to treat for hours at a time. They can't, animals are very intuitive. They know exactly how much they need. And sometimes if they have something and you might not even be aware of what's going on, set it up for them, and they might want to stay in front of it like all day long and just, take pee breaks or meal breaks. And then it's like, okay, I'm back, going back for round 2, 3. And then they'll have very rapid healing, because it's like, if their gas tank is so depleted and they've got some kind of physical thing that's going on, they'll know exactly how much they need. So, and it's just like dog. Yeah.
Yeah, I know a dog. I have a dog. Oh, well, a friend's dog has lung carcinoma, like a lung cancer. And where would you recommend the Rejuvenator to be placed right on top of the tumor?
Yes. No, I would do the same thing. For dogs with tumors, anything, they're going to be able to position themselves exactly where they need to be treated. So keep in mind that for pets, the root level treatments are the same. So they might want to treat their upper back for toxicity in a system. They might want to treat directly where the tumor is. When you set it up for them, let them decide. So, because I'm like, people are, oh, I need to treat here. It's like, you don't know where you need to treat. Your dog knows where he needs to treat. You have the opportunity to do it himself. You don't need to be controlling the process. They know exactly where they need the healing energies and where they want to put them in. And like I said, they'll often do treatments for hours, and they won't necessarily stay in the same position. They'll move around, and they'll be like, okay, that area is full right now. I'm going to move. They'll treat direct. So with humans, they treat directly over their tumors. But then they're also doing the root level treatments, because cancer is nothing more than a buildup of toxicity and stuck energy in the energy body system that then manifests in the physical body. So cancer cells are a normal phenomenon that even
very much. We love them.
Yeah. But it's like, but a healthy body will say, okay, cancer cell, before you can turn into a tumor, I'm going to go, get rid of you. So it's not going to turn into, but when your body doesn't have the normal mechanism to provide its own healing benefits because your gas tank is running on fumes and you have a bunch of stuck energy channels, I call them in the hose, or strawberries stuck in the smoothie straw, then that's where cancer will manifest, cancer cells that will pop up, but then they can also proliferate and turn into a tumor because the body isn't able to do its job of going, okay, cancer cell, cancer cell.
Yeah.
Like,
I would say, yeah, with GHK, though, it's very, very specific. It's life situation because, our nervous system, I mean, we evolved over billions of years to adapt and respond to our environment. That's what the nervous system is for. And lung cancer, but it's interesting because it's a dog. And lung cancer carcinoma is a death fright conflict. It's the fear of death. So often it's like animals will never be afraid to die. Right? They wouldn't be. They wouldn't even have a concept of it. So why would they fear it?
Wow.
What I feel is that it is absorbing the thought seed of the owner, the human, who is scared for it. So it's scared for it. So the beauty about GHK in lung cancer in humans is that it's a fear of death. And we even know that if it's one lung or one nodule, you can actually have it be a substitute conflict. So if you fear for the life of your child or fear for the life of your spouse, there will be one nodule. If you fear for both of them, because let's say, I don't know, there's a flood or whatever, and they got caught in it and they're missing, you'll have two nodules. But if there are multiple nodules, it's fear for your own life. So we even know that specific. Yes. So I think, so this dog is likely. So you know what I say? The owner needs.
Yeah. That's such a high percentage of illness and disease in animals. I mean, first of all, illness and disease in animals, if you inject them with stuff, you're going to set them up for illness and disease. So, puppy shots and kitten shots, I'm not going to use that word because I'm going to put this on YouTube, but after. But yeah, those injections provide zero benefit and create illness and disease and eventual cancers in your pets. And the more of them that you do, the more. It's big pharma controls the veterinary industry as well. So it's all BS. And so they're not beneficial to your pet in any way, shape, or form. So that creates the toxic overload, first of all. And then all the, and pharmaceuticals, same thing. Any pharmaceuticals or antibiotics and stuff like that you give to your pets, or the flea treatments, all of that. So all of that is toxins that are going in that can create cancer in their own merit in the animal that isn't, but all our pets are little energy sponges. They're picking up everything from their surroundings. That's how, when you want to train a dog, if you're like high strung, you're never going to be able to train that dog because the dog can't calm down because he's reading your energy. Anyway, Cesar Millan talks a lot about the NFT active trait. Cesar Millan, the dog whisperer.
Small children too, and Jackson Galaxy too.
Let's say you've got okay, well, I don't inject my dogs and he eats really healthy raw food diet. I'll love all of mine are 100% raw fat. But if they come down with some kind of life-threatening illness, then that's where you would look, okay, they're picking up something from the pet parent. And anything. They're like little canaries in the mine kind of thing. So if you see something manifesting in your pet for no other reason, and again, but the injections and that is a huge contributor on its own, even without them picking up the stress of the parent, the pet parent, the human. But that will be a big contributor, bladder issues or, kidney problems or things like that, which is fear, but it's hard to have a dialogue about the whole thing because so often people are programmed and they go and get those shots with and they do them year after year. But even if they did the first round, it's still, you have to detox Stuff because
There's a lot of layer also of that, the toxins, and then the parent, the parent also has the that electromagnetic field that they're plugging into, that the organs are picking up. But there are also hundreds, maybe thousands of cases that were studied in GHK for pet health. In fact, there's all these two whole modules on pets, and you could also see that there is also a survival aspect, a perspective that the pet psyche has, and kidney is very rampant because, especially in puppy and cat mills, where the baby is taken away from the mother and the pack, and they feel all alone. And kidney is fear, yes, but in GHK, kidney is actually abandonment and isolation. It's being a fish out of water. And that's why it's rampant in
it's the water element.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's but you also have the contribution of puppy mills where they're often letting the mother and father have way too many litters. So your kidney energy is like your reserve tank. Like you don't want to be dipping into that. So often puppies that come out of puppy mills are already starting off with like a running on fumes gas tank because their parents were very deficient and exhausted and depleted as they were procreating, giving birth. It's the moment of conception in humans and in animals that determines the life force energy of the baby. You can, after the fact, Chinese medicine doesn't think that you can put life force energy in afterwards. Japanese medicine and other modalities do. And I know for a fact that you can. Well, the Rejuvenator does that. So people that were born and had congenital problems, right out of the way because their parents weren't healthy when they conceived and then gave birth. So you start off, that's where, that's why you have issues, congenital, birth defects from when parents are older and they have children. The likelihood of those congenital birth defects, I call them defects in quotes because it's like nothing is really a defect. It's like opportunity for
yes, because it's related to the parents' health and the parents.
Yeah, so all of it, but and I also go bigger picture, like, okay, we get to choose our families and our parents and our what film are we going to play in this lifetime, or what character are we going to play, and what storyline, and and that's why people have 100% control over everything that happens in your life. You can change the narrative anytime you want.
Totally.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Well, before we go, and because we've been talking for almost 2 hours, oh my, it's like, Leanne, it's like we're only talking 5 minutes, and so that it's 2 hours. Are you kidding? It's just not enough. But before you let us know where we can reach you and everything, I get this question a lot from my clients. It's like, do I close my eyes or do I protect my eyes from the Rejuvenator, or how would you advise?
Is it with the number 3, which is a combination, the light portion is visible red and near infrared. And there are a ton of red light therapy devices on the market that you absolutely would not want to open your eyes because it is way too intense. So the Rejuvenators have like the perfect balance. It's like extremely effective. But again, you've got quantum healing energy. So with the Rejuvenator, look, when I launched 8.5 years ago, getting close to 9 years now, because it was the October 2016, people started getting the units in the middle of November 2016. So, but I told people it's like perfectly safe to keep your eyes open. But if you have any hesitation, just close your eyes. It's not a big deal.
Right.
But then what we started getting literally within the first few weeks, people like intuitively, and I always encourage people, like your intuition will always, but if you're afraid of something, don't do it. Even if I tell you it's perfectly safe, if you have hesitation or fear, don't do it until you feel comfortable. And then you can, then let your own intuition guide you. But yeah, so we've had thousands of people that have completely healed all kinds of severe, like, I was going blind. My retinas were so paper thin, like they were about to detach, and all kinds of, so severe, retinal thinning, age-related macular degeneration. Floaters is one element that, brightening vision, visual acuity, like people like in their no longer need reading glasses or driving glasses. I mean, it's like story after story like that. But yes, with the eyes open is the eye protocol. But the eye protocol came about from people sharing in the group because it's another one of the many benefits of the community. It's also a data pooling place and people get to share their healing results. So I get more and more information and then I can say, yes, we've had 5,000 people that have treated their eyes directly. And not only did it not harm your eyes with the Rejuvenator. And I tell people, don't tell people to do this with other light therapy devices because I have heard stories where people have tried to do that and then harmed their eyes. Somebody told me that they knew somebody that blinded themselves from using a light therapy device and treating with their eyes. Some of them are just so intense and strong and they don't have any of the quantum healing energies. And then you also have to look at, anything that you're using that's coming from anybody, it carries the energy of the people that are creating it as well. So
Exactly.
people don't think in those terms either, but everything is energy, frequency, and vibration. So, but anyway, so the eye protocol came about because of the fact that we had so many people that were doing their facial treatments. And let me just pretend that this is the
minutes.
Yes. So this is the way that I do my facial treatments. Because I want to be able to watch streaming video at the same time. It took me a while to figure this one out. It's like a lot of people do their treatments like this and then they just do 3 minutes or you can do longer. But with the eyes open, I tell people 3 minutes with the eyes open. It's more than enough to stimulate the healing benefits in the eye. And then you close your eye and do longer on your face if you want.
But 3 minutes. Okay.
So I can keep this eye open while I'm doing this side and then watch my show on my, my laptop with my other eye while I'm doing a treatment here. So yeah, and I'll sometimes do longer than 3 minutes, but just because I'm not watching the clock. I never watch the clock. So long. But I tell people if you're actually trying to treat some eye thing, just do 3 minutes, close your eyes for the rest of it, or, follow your intuition.
Cool.
But we've had so many amazing healing stories. I mean, people that were like taking drugs for their age-related macular or doing those thing where they get like injected.
That's scary.
Like having to do that every few months and no longer needing that at all. So, and vision is a huge thing. And I speak from experience because when my retinas were, and I know that mine came from a combination of liver gallbladder energy being very stuck because having a traumatic child, being stressed out all the time, being in fight or flight, PTSD mode where they're like, am I going to get thrown out in the snow? Like that kind of thing. And that depletes liver gallbladder energy and makes that energy stuck. Liver gallbladder wood element controls the eyes. So anything that people have with the eyes, I automatically look to liver gallbladder energy, stress, stuff like that. And a lot of times I actually had things where it's like you're in a stressed out period. If you notice that, oh, my eye's going really blurry, it's like, have you been under more stress? Or diet can also contribute to taxing liver gallbladder, like eating greasy, fatty foods and things like that, where you're not used to, so I can deplete that or cause that. So the eyes is directly related to liver gallbladder.
Wow, it will make sense.
What is the age?
Yeah. Plus the eyes also have photobiorreceptors and it takes in the light signaling into the suprachiasmatic nucleus that kind of governs the hypothalamus, governs the circadian rhythm and everything. So it kind of makes sense that light it would respond to light that way as well, like very dramatically.
Well, yes, and specifically from the the eyes as an organ, which are an extension of the brain. The eyes are exactly
protrusion of the brain actually is what experiment does.
Exactly. And they're also the window of the soul. So you can see when somebody has some kind of entity latched onto them, you can tell from their eyes, somebody's got, some kind of thing. I'm sure you
the reptilian eyes.
Well, not even to that extreme, but yeah, that can be one. But
Thank you so much, Leanne.
So my website is catalyticcolor.com. Although I have my leannevenier.com, LEANN V as in Victor, ENIER.com is my original website when I was a full-time artist, but that is linked with Catalytic Color. So if you can't remember Catalytic Color, which is CATALYTIC, just like catalytic converter, Catalytic Color, the American spelling, COLOR, catalyticcolor.com. But you can always go to leannevenier.com and their sister websites. So they just cross-linked to each other. So there's a bunch of stuff on the homepage and the menus that will bop you over to catalyticcolor.com. So
Facebook and IG.
they're all my handles are universal across all platforms: Instagram, Telegram, Facebook, Twitter, at Leanne Venier. Leanne, V as in Victor, Enier. So okay, Leanne Venier. Yeah, I have it. Yeah, it's all universal.
And when you purchase the Rejuvenator or any of the light that you see in on your website, they can become members of the Facebook group where people share testimonials and ask for protocols and everything from you. It's free per year.
Free lifetime membership. So there's not an additional payment for that. Because sometimes people were like,
Right.
oh, do I have to pay extra because it's a membership? No, that's the membership. You get a Rejuvenator, you get the community membership, because I want people to be able to learn how to take back power over their health and healing process, and not just for healing whatever it is they've got going on now, or maybe they've had something for decades, but now and forever. You're going to have control of your healing process for the rest of your life, because you're going to learn where, through reading people's posts, and people post their questions, and I provide free personalized healing guidance and support. And I do it in the group context. So thousands of people are in the group, and I answer a question for somebody, but it's benefiting everyone in the communities, because they're like, oh, I've got the same thing. And then you read it, it's like, oh, like that's what she said to do. I'm going to do the abdominal protocol and the detox, or whatever protocols, and there's only a handful of protocols. And the sleep protocol is also phenomenal. That's like for people that have had insomnia for years. And it's like the first time, it's like, like within a few minutes, it makes you so sleepy, but which is really important. All kinds of healing, because our body goes into the deepest healing state at night while we're sleeping. And if you're not getting deep restorative sleep, your body can't even do the healing that it needs to, and what I call the nightly brain defrag, where the brain actually stores the long-term memory and all kinds of stuff from both the physiological perspective and the energy perspective. And it's like a whole
and sleep is actually it's such an it's active, it's not passive. There's so much that is happening, it has to make you a corpse in order to do everything it needs to, because it requires so much energy. Yeah.
Well, and there's even more to that,
there's so much.
Tapping into ocean states, and it's like, but it's all important. And so charging is important. Thank you so much, Addie.
Thank you so much, Leanne. Those conversations, I know. I'll send. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom as always, and for doing what you do, and for putting the power of healing in the hands of the people and away from wherever, so that people are more self-aware, and they take their health in their own hands, and they're accountable, responsible, and giving us a tool that is like so empowering, and it's so inspiring. And I hope that your work spreads even more, and I hope that through this you become more abundant as well, and as always, and be able to help everybody on the planet. Thank you so much.
And you as well. And can you do me a favor, since I'm going to be sharing this on my YouTube? Can you just give a little blurb about encompassing in the amazing work you're doing in the Philippines at your facility, as well as what you're doing online and your various, because you've got a number of different projects. But
okay, yes, I'll do that. Okay.